Ladies, gentlemen, non-binary people everywhere, welcome to Action and Adventure, the Hasbro Universe podcast. I'm your host, Daniel.
And I am your other host, Callum.
And today we have reached our 13th episode. Ooh. Unfortunately, this is coming out after Halloween, so all the spooky.
Yeah, it covers the Halloween period. Yeah.
Yes. So today we're going to talk First Strike number 6, the final installment in the First Strike event. But First Strike isn't technically over because we still have M.A.S.K First Strike, which, one of our tie-ins, which bridges the gap between G.I. Joe Volume 5 and Scarlett Strike Force coming in December. Then we have Optimus Prime number 12, Part 2 of Primeless. Clue number 5, the penultimate chapter of the surprisingly really good Clue miniseries. And finally, ROM number 14, the end of ROM's solo title. So, this is going to be quite... We have quite the interesting show for you today. So,
yeah, but a nice mix of things to talk about. Yeah.
Yes. Some good, some not so good. We'll get there when we get there. But first, let's talk a bit of news. We don't have much news today, but we do have a brief interview courtesy of David Hedgecock from... Oh shoot, who did that?
Oh, it was IGN. Video games website. It was titled IDW's First Strike introduces massive new threat to G.I. Joe and Transformers universe. Because it was primarily an interview about the big Unicron reveal at the end of the issue, which we will talk about in detail in a minute when we kind of talk about the issue. But it was essentially David Hedgecock, who is editor-in-chief at IDW, talking a bit about the reveal and what it means going forward. And actually, the interview had all 4 pages of that of the kind of Unicron epilogue attached to it. So I guess if you are a person who is grumpy about Unicron, because I have seen people guess where, being grumpy about Unicron getting revealed at the end of a crossover rather than in a Transformers book. But there you go, you don't even have to pay money, you can read all 4 Unicron pages for free in this IGN interview. And it's mostly kind of, a lot of this interview is kind of fluff. It's all, did Unicron's appear... For some reason, IGN have wrapped Unicron's appearance, they wrapped in quotation marks in the last night, play a role in that decision. He definitely, he appeared in the last night. I'm not sure. He didn't say anything, I suppose. I mean,
it was really just his horn.
Yeah.
To be fair, we didn't get to see an actual robot or even really the real visage of Unicron. It's it's kind of like saying Beta Ray Bill appeared in Thor Ragnarok.
What? It's a bit more than that, because he's there and his actual body is sort of in it. But I don't. They talk a bit about apparently IDW have been having conversations about when, where, and how to use Unicron going back several years now. And again, I guess we'll probably end up talking about it when we talk about First Strike 6. But I have thoughts about Unicron and how he has possibly been teased ahead of this this issue.
Yeah.
And get a reiteration that the Unicron event is going to be primarily a Transformers event, which again I have seen people rolling out the is Matt Tracker going to defeat Unicron joke, but sort of everyone and their dog has been rolling out. And what else is in this interview? We get I
do like the fact that they have, are kind of saying that it's mostly going to be, Transformers, because, let's face it, as much as excited as I am to see Rom the Space Knight take on Unicron, he is a Transformers villain, and the Transformers need to be the front and center, and I really do want them to I want them to very much do what happened with Rom and the Micronauts and maybe Unicron sends minions to to Earth or something to ready them while he's devouring Cybertron or something, and they just have to deal with things.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I want out of the Unicron event, personally. So
I would be happy with sort of the Transformers having kind of the same level of focus that sort of, I don't know, in the same way that sort of like the core of First Strike was sort of Scarlett and G.I. Joe, really. Like, the Transformers were kind of a bit along for the ride, because, it was Joe Colton was the main villain, it was primarily kind of, Scarlett was the main character of First Strike. So, I would be happy for sort of, G.I. Joe, say, to have the same level of involvement that the Transformers had in First Strike, but I'm sure for some people that would be far too much. But, apparently, yes, it is a, all caps Transformers event.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, it's not being all caps for emphasis. It's been all caps because that's how you write your trademarks.
Yeah.
We're told that Transformers versus Visionaries will apparently kind of do some sort of moving along on the Unicron story, which is kind of interesting. I'd assume that sort of Unicron would basically be kind of, Unicron's coming, and then we sort of get back to our business for a while, and then it's wham, Unicron. I wasn't expecting, the Visionaries series to do much with that. So that's a surprise to me.
I mean, it does kind of make sense when you consider First Strike number 6, but we'll get to that. In fact, should we go ahead and get to that? Is there anything else to say about the David Hedgecock thing?
Yeah, not massively. Sort of, he sort of reiterates again that sort of, kind of all the, each of the books are going to be kind of distinct and kind of their own thing, which, again, I've seen some people kind of interpreting as, all the kind of franchises are going to have nothing to do with each other. It's going to be as if kind of there's no shared universe, that everyone's going to be sort of totally self-contained. It's like, I mean, he's saying that about the books, not the franchises, and that's what it already was. Like, you didn't need to be reading anything else to be reading any one book. And like, if you were just reading Transformers, literally the only thing was like 3 G.I. Joe characters in Optimus who were like there sometimes. I was like, but it is mostly sort of, the interview is mostly sort of for the uninformed reader. It is selling Unicron to the IGN's readership more than it's sort of us people who are already sort of knee deep in this kind of thing and know what's all going on already. But let's go straight into First Strike number 6, I guess. Our conclusion for the main series.
Okay, so let's start this off. Have you ever seen someone running a race and they are doing such a good job? You know, they're booking it, they're in the lead, and they're like right about to cross the finish line, and then they trip and they fall face first into the ground? That is what this issue is. It is the moment where First Strike tripped, and I am very sad to see that happen.
It's
Callum, what did you think?
It's so odd. Like, I went into this issue fully expecting, the Visionary setup to be sort of like, I was expecting, something is going to happen that there'll be a big final like thing happening with the talisman during the battle, and then after the dust has settled, kind of people kind of start. They'll be sort of locking the villains into handcuffs, kind of thing, and then in a big kind of wham splash page to end the sort of main part of the issue, we get, oh look, it's some Visionaries and they're here, and there's a little caption box telling us to go read Transformers versus Visionaries. But instead, how many pages in is it?
Let me.
6, 7, 8, 9. But it's about halfway into the issue. Just the story that we have been following throughout First Strike about Scarlett versus Joe Colton just is sort of is swept carelessly aside, so that it can suddenly turn into an advert for Transformers versus Visionaries. Basically,
it's so clumsy the way it's done too. It's so weird because I mean we knew some sort of Visionaries tease would happen. I mean it was obvious from the start. We knew it was coming. The thing that makes this so weird is the how they did it. I mean, yeah, it's like you say, like halfway through, it just suddenly Visionaries just takes over, and it results in just this weird just stopping. Like that's the thing. It just everything stops to do the Visionaries tease, and even the Visionaries tease itself is so weird because apparently Garrison Krieger is Merklin. What?
So old. It doesn't outright contradict anything from Revolutionaries, like, so long as you're willing to sort of, like...
But it stretches. It stretches credibility.
It stretches. And it's just so weird.
I mean, it's even worse. It's even worse than the Baron Ironblood reveal. And I already didn't really love the Baron Ironblood reveal. Partially because the Baron Ironblood reveal, to me, it partially, made Colton's whole Dire Wraith death in Revolution a bit less interesting, because one of the big things that I thought was interesting about that was the question of when did he become a Dire Wraith, and it's like, just shortly before. The Dire Wraith was barely
depends,
there.
Yeah, exactly when depends who you ask, though. Because,
But and secondly, it's like I imagined Baron Ironblood as this other guy, and then it's like it's just weird to see General G.I. Joe be Baron Ironblood. But it's like, it's whatever. Baron Ironblood pretty much had to be a pre-existing character. It makes sense. It's whatever. I feel like merging Garrison Krieger and Merklin, especially given Merklin's whole thing of apparently being anti-technology in this version. Now, I haven't seen the Visionaries cartoon yet. I probably should. I do know that Merklin was a bit of a, he wasn't, entirely a good guy, but he wasn't, he was a bit, morally ambiguous. So they're obviously leaning on that.
The first episode, he was kind of a dick. He sort of hung out in his castle and sort of insults everyone quite a bit, if I remember.
But this version of Merklin is straight up anti-technology. He considers technology an aberration. And Garrison Krieger's whole thing, whether back in the original Sergeant Savage or now, it's like his whole thing has been technology and cyborgism, and it's like, what? It quite frankly, it makes both characters less interesting to me than if they were separate characters.
It's just very weird, because you can kind of justify it as he just had to rely on technology because that's what was there, but it doesn't make it any less just kind of weird. And you can kind of if you read back through stuff, it sort of you can tell it was written to account for this fact. It's not some weird sort of thing that was decided late in the game, in the flashbacks in Revolutionaries 5, when Krieger introduces himself to Centurion, sort of, if he phrases it in a way that, yes, in hindsight, that is how an alien refugee would describe themselves. And yet the sourcebook profile sort of, he claims to be the son of German immigrants or whatever it was. So it's not sort of, it's clear it was planned for, but it's just such a weird plan, and I'm not sure I really like it. Even putting aside the way in which it derailed the core story of First Strike, is just sort of weird. I will say that it surprised me. I was sitting there sort of mouthing. I'm pretty sure I was sitting there sort of, not aloud, but because I think I was reading it in my lunch break at work. But I was at least mouthing, what the fuck, just because he starts off with the poem, the sort of, whispered secrets of a shattered, I don't remember what the poem is, but he starts out saying the poem, and So yeah, and then the talisman activates, and you get the visionary sort of like animal totems appearing in midair, and it's like, okay, right, so clearly the talisman is from Prismos, and he's just somehow figured out that this is what you have to say to activate the talisman. It's like, okay, fair enough. But then sort of a couple of pages later, then he turns into Merklin, and it's just what. I was so confused with this issue.
It was such. I mean, that's the thing. It's such a weird reveal, like, and yeah, it does kind of hijack the plot, especially because then, like, because that's the thing, especially because then, like, after, Krieger reveals himself to be Merklin, and then like creates like teleports in the new Prismos city. It's one of those things where then Colton kind of just has to give up because he's lost his whole thing. But that's the thing, and it causes after that happens, it causes the plot the book to just end. I did enjoy the fight between Scarlett and Colton, but after that point, it's he's just and that's the thing, and Colton doesn't and I'll be honest, I didn't entirely get Colton's whole, what have I done thing, kind of I kind of get it, but at the same time, it's I don't entirely get it. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, it's not like he didn't know he was already working with a bunch of supervillains. It's just, oh god, I didn't know that I was working with a supervillain from, that specific planet. I mean, he was already working with an alien, I mean...
Yeah, it was weird, and it just kind of tapered, it's just tapered off, and Colton and them are now arrested on Cybertron and in giant cells, so...
But no, like you're saying, though, the Scarlett versus Colton fight was good, and what it did that I was pleased with was that, it did distinguish itself from the Sergeant Savage versus Joe Colton fight at the end of Revolutionaries a bit.
Yeah. By
way of having, we had the whole kind of thing where, I guess it's because, Colton has a different relationship with Scarlett than he does Sergeant Savage, because he still respects Scarlett, and the whole thing of he can't bring himself to kill Scarlett. It's because I feared it would be kind of just a complete retread, and it did a bit. We got some really similar lines about deciding who gets to be a person kind of thing, but it differentiated itself a bit, and the issue was going fine, up until.
Well, that's the thing about the different relationships between Colton and Scarlett and Colton and Savage is Savage was Colton's ideal. Colton had this idealized version of Sergeant Savage in his head that, let's face it, the actual Sergeant Savage did not live up to, because the actual Sergeant Savage gets comes to the present time and is spouting and starts spouting off 90s catchphrases when he starts to acclimate, to the point where Colton has that line of, "Good God, Savage, who talks like that?" I think Savage is very much Colton's ideal that he sort of outgrows, if you will, and Scarlett is a completely different relationship, because Scarlett is the mentor, or was the mentee, she looked up to Colton in a very similar vein. But Colton had an actual relationship with Scarlett. Dating back. Honestly, now it's one of those things with the retcons with Revolutionaries and First Strike. Dating back to even before her G.I. Joe days. So it's that's.
Oh yeah,
so that's
10
completely
years
different, and it's really interesting that they've recontextualized that. So that's another thing that I think really helped the difference between the Sergeant Savage fight with Colton and the Scarlett fight with Colton. I thought it was really good.
Yeah. But and honestly, I will say of this issue, the actual kind of end, the end result with the Visionary stuff of like literally a chunk of the interior of Cybertron being sort of transfigured into a replica of Prismos. Like that's decent. That's a good setup. Like I really like the idea that sort of, because it's sort of emphasised in Scarlett's kind of closing monologue in the kind of caption boxes that sort of Cybertron is sort of has been sort of wounded. Oh, it's there's a festering sore gnawing at the core of Cybertron, and we saved Cybertron, but its heart got cut out anyway. Like I like the idea that sort of I like the end result, but sort of Cybertron has been sort of twisted on the inside, but it shouldn't have eaten up the main plot like that.
Yeah.
Like, you'd have to rewrite the issue kind of completely, I guess, to get rid of the whole sort of like Krieger is Merlin thing, but you could achieve the end goal of Cybertron gets its energon kind of transfigured and a city is formed inside it. You could have achieved that in fewer pages than were used in this issue.
Yeah.
Like, how Krieger make less of a song and dance out of activating the bloody talisman?
Yeah.
And then but because I like the sort of where we end up. That's a decent setup. I kind of and it also ties into sort of my personal theory about the meaning of the message that is sent to Unicron, which I guess we'll talk about shortly. But it's just that it just eats up so much of the issue, to the point that basically everything else, like we get some level of conclusion to the Scarlett versus Colton story. We get no conclusion to all the stuff about Optimus defying the Council and breaking the law to sort of bust out.
To be fair, Optimus has his own book that all that can be done in. So
still, I mean,
but no, I get
Well, First Strike is a mini-series, and it should be self-contained to a degree, and I think like kind of finishing what it started ought to be part of that. But it's such a pity because sort of like you started off saying, it really did sort of fall at the final hurdle.
I mean, that's the thing, because this was a really good series. It was just the ending had with this. I mean, and it's the Merklin thing is the biggest problem with it, quite frankly, is just that this is where it kind of falters, and it's disappointing, and it's disappointing because it was so good. Another good thing I liked was the interaction with Scarlett and Matt. That actually was pretty good, especially because Matt was in it has been in a similar position to Scarlett, with a mentor that he admired and respected turning out to be kind of a terrible person, to put it lightly.
I mean, I'm sure I've said this before. But
complimenting Matt Tracker, holy crap! I did not expect this to happen. What is the world coming to?
But I've said this before. But if there's any lesson that the Transformers franchise as a whole tells us, is that sort of like old white men are very, very likely to betray you, probably to sort of space aliens because of their own greed. Like,
can I get that on a T-shirt?
But
oh my god.
They will kind of betray you to the space alien. They will team up with the space aliens for their own greed, or they will turn into a fascist because they hate the space aliens. You
want to talk about the coda?
Well, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes. And so the other big thing that this issue had, of course, was the ending, which, as we predicted, this was not this issue gets a backup story, but not the Origins of Evil backup story. Instead, it is a coda story called The Signal, where while Windblade was talking with Metroplex while the whole finale of First Strike happened, and Merklin's whole magic activated the talisman, it sent like a signal to a far off planet, and it said, "Welcome, death. Unicron is coming. Which, to be fair, we already knew, but, you know.
The planet its outer layers crumble away to reveal the Great Destroyer. It's in Costa ongoing 31, isn't it? Where Wheelie is said to have been the first to witness the Great Destroyer. But I actually talking about the coda, it does bring up one thing that's slightly confused me with this issue, because so in the main story, what we are told happens is that Krieger Merklin, I suppose I should be calling him, we're told that he transmutes kind of all of Cybertron's energon into magical energon that the Transformers can't use as fuel. And it's explicit, oh no, you've not been drained, the energon is mind command now. And it's okay, right, so Cybertron's energon has been depleted, but only because it was changed into something else. But then in this backup story, which it's still by the same, this one is by Scott and Rodriguez. Here it's Cybertron's energy reserves have been depleted because they were used to beam a message off into space. So I didn't quite get what the implication was there. I guess both happened.
I think it's one of those things that both happened. Merklin's not aware that a message was sent.
I guess
he intended to alter it, so it's so to him he's oh well, it's altered in your machine, so it must have just be the fact that the energon's changed. With that, and I think it probably is just something he just didn't realize that it beamed up off to call Unicron.
Very primal scream, isn't it?
Yes, that's very obvious inspiration. I did love that final line though, that those final two captions. Just that line of welcome death, that's
my interpretation of that is that, especially given the way that Scarlett's final monologue, like I was saying earlier, is all a festering sore, Cybertron's had its heart cut out. My interpretation of those two lines is that, and from the way that it is, the dialogue suggests that Cybertron itself sent this message rather than the talisman sending it or something using Cybertron's power. My interpretation is that Cybertron wants to commit suicide because it is it has been so kind of twisted and damaged by Merklin's magic. And if that is kind of real and not me grasping at straws, that would be a really cool twist on a Unicron story. A story where they have to save Cybertron from getting eaten because Cybertron wants to die. That's a really horrifying but engaging twist on Unicron wants to eat Cybertron.
Yeah, see, that does make me wonder though, because as a huge Cybertron fan, it does make me wonder if we're gonna get a twist on or a play on the Cybertron is Primus idea that personally I'm a huge fan of. So it's an interesting theory. I don't know how, we'll have to see how it plays out, but that is definitely an interesting theory, and it does give this idea that Cybertron has a consciousness of its own, which is an idea that I actually really like, that I've seen done before. So I would be down. I'd be down.
Yeah, it is interesting to think about how they will approach this event, given the traditional agnosticism, effectively, of this universe. This universe, anything kind of religious is still nobody knows, down to the point that the Titans. I do love that. Just the Titans have clearly all just decided to, be super vague. If guys, if anyone ever asks you if Primus is real, just be as vague as possible. Deny everything. Just because Triptychon's internal monologue in Salvation.
That was great. Yeah.
But yeah, so I do wonder sort of what will happen here, because like you could maybe write off Cybertron sending a message as being just a sort of automated thing.
Yeah.
And like I kind of almost wonder if like will I wouldn't be surprised if kind of Unicron didn't transform and speak almost like because you could kind of play Unicron as the sort of keep him more as sort of like elder god, sort of like monstrosity from the dawn of time, kind of unthinkable kind of terror, rather than like big old sort of robot Satan kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like I feel like Unicron existing doesn't necessarily mean they have to bin the whole sort of is Primus real or not kind of.
Yeah. The weird thing is that they do kind of have an out though, with like, because in the G1 cartoon there was the character Primacron, and now I think Primacron is stupid because I much prefer the idea of having the living god, the living god idea. But they could just make Unicron a creation of Primacron or something, and then he gets worked into like legend and stuff in thousands of years, like we saw in the Costa 31.
Yeah, I mean that would be kind of my guess would be for how to handle it whilst maintaining agnosticism would be just present Unicron as sort of like a big scary thing that has existed for aeons and has sort of features in Cybertronian religion. Well, potentially could just feature in Cybertronian religion because sort of ancient Cybertronians were aware of him and sort of deified him, or he could really be.
Yeah.
So, but I guess if he starts like having conversations with people, that kind of wrecks that slightly. Well, I mean, even I guess he could be.
I mean,
sort of like an elder god monstrosity from the dawn of time that is capable of holding a conversation, I suppose. But I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, Unicron's kind of always been able to talk to people, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of if you gave me full control over Unicron's story, I wouldn't have him speak. I like the whole sort of like booming kind of Orson Welles sort of like bored sounding kind of god. Like I do like that, but I think I like the idea of Unicron as being just this like weird, unthinkable sort of eldritch terror more, perhaps.
See, I have had to defend that Orson Welles as Unicron thing from a lot of my film snob friends who are not like huge Transformers fans, and I'm just like, guys, and who they roll their eyes at the idea of Orson Welles' last film role being being a planet-sized toy that eats smaller toys, and it's like, no, guys, you don't know the mythology. This is big. Yeah.
But me, I really love the fact that Orson Welles sounds so bored in Transformers the movie, just because it works. It works really well for Unicron being this like big apathetic monster that just he wants to eat things and like doesn't really give a shit otherwise. It's like, yeah, sure, like you're not actually causing me enough of like a problem to actually raise any level of emotion about this. It's like, Galvatron, like, quit your bullshit, Galvatron, like, yeah. But well, I suppose and the other thing that this coda I need to talk about is kind of all of the kind of the theorizing that I've ended up doing as a result of it. Because what we see in this coda is that Unicron was sort of dormant as a regular-looking planet until he's woken up, and then it all sort of falls off and everything, and starts to reveal the metal underneath. But that planet appears to be orbiting around a black hole. I mean, it's like it has been coloured with just kind of generic kind of starscape texture underneath, but the actual line art makes it look like a black hole. So what I think Unicron is Antilla. So the planet from Optimus, like RID and Optimus Prime, and primarily the Transformers annual, I guess. Which, so yeah, I think that Onyx Prime's whole thing that has been being teased for like a couple of years now, almost. Wait, no, I forget when the earliest mentions of like the deserts in a black sun. I forget when that was first mentioned. I think it was during Conquerors, so that's like the high 40s, isn't it, for RID? But yeah, so my theory is that Onyx Prime's whole thing, and the reason why Onyx Prime is returning and why he wants to get the Enigma thing, I think it's all about Unicron. I think Unicron is Antilla, the world of rust deserts and a black sun, the black hole that's orbiting, because there's art of Antilla itself orbiting a black hole in the annual, where it was mentioned a bunch. So yeah, I think Unicron is Antilla. Onyx Prime, his whole thing is he wants to come back and defend Cybertron against Unicron because he knows he's coming. I think the Talisman is a weapon that was built to fight Unicron, because it does a bunch of things, but it's really good at killing Transformers. And Onyx Prime gave it to a bunch of people who were going to be flying around in space, exploring a bunch of planets. So it's and it was described in Revolutionaries 8 as being an inoculation against that which comes. And because I don't know, I feel like we speculated a bit that could it be sort of to protect against the Visionaries, but I think First Strike 6 kind of rules that out. I feel.
I like this theory. This is a good theory. I like it.
Because I feel like it makes everything fit together. Because it's been sort of a big question as to just why is Onyx Prime rambling at saying a poem at everyone that appears to just be describing this planet Antilla, which, as far as we had been told, was it was a planet, Praesidia, and I guess probably the future Mistress of Flame. It's not specified in the issue, but I guess she wasn't the Mistress of Flame by then if she was just going around following random distress beacons in space. And actually, I guess it must have been ages ago as well, because that must have been back when Caminus had space flight still. But yeah, so it's a question of just why is this planet so important? Because it is clearly the same planet that's being referred to each time, but rust desert, the black sun, darkness.
Oh,
so,
wait! I just thought about something though. There's got to be some. That kind of means there has to be some connection between the Titan Masters and Unicron, right? Because Blackrock, doesn't he reference a memory of seeing a black star?
Well, specifically, he has kind of a childhood memory, but presumably it's just his memories of being a Titan Master coming through. But it was a black angel, that being Onyx Prime, really, because he has wings, showing him a world of rust deserts and infinite darkness.
Okay.
So,
clearly,
so
maybe
there's some connect Onyx's servants have some experience with it, certainly, because Centurion in Optimus Prime Strike, he appears to have actual, because he looks up at Cybertron's sun and says that he has memories of seeing the sun shine black. So that kind of suggests to me that Centurion has possibly actually kind of set foot on Antilla and looked up and seen the black hole, the black sun. Yeah. It's I don't know, and because then the whole thing in the annual was Praesidia and the Mistress followed a distress beacon to this planet, but found just a expecting to find a colony, but they just found a sort of dead, empty place. That had been consumed by rust. So
now this gives me a theory of what's going to happen in regards to the Falling and Power of the Primes. So I'm thinking, what if Optimus Prime, so the Falling happens and they defeat Onyx Prime, and he's all no, Unicron's coming, all that. Essentially the whole crazy doomsday prepper thing that you were saying. But then, whatever happens to set up the Power of the Prime stuff, and we know Optimus Primal is a servant of Onyx Prime, so he ends up getting, trying to get the Matrix, specifically because he knows it can stop Unicron.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess it all kind of rather depends on the order in which everything happens. Because, I mean, yeah, I could see sort of the falling happening and then Power of the Primes happening just before Unicron, but then equally you wonder if it could go down like it's the falling and then Unicron happens and Optimus dies, like fighting Unicron, and then Power of the Primes happens afterwards. And sort of, Optimus Primal has been hanging around since the falling, and gets himself in on the sort of I want the Matrix game. Yeah, sort of, I don't know, because IDW haven't really acknowledged the Power of the Primes event yet, have they? So that kind of makes me feel like it's after Unicron. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see. I still kind of feel like. I mean, we really don't know when exactly. So who knows? It depends. But I think that's one possibility, is that they could use that Onyx Primal tie-in to and tie it into the Matrix thing, into the Unicron story. So we'll see what happens. Could go either way, honestly.
Yeah, what I feel like may have happened is that, is the lost colony on Antilla something that sort of did Onyx Prime, because...
Did Onyx Prime have two colonies?
Because, I mean, there's Eucharis.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, because there's a bunch of beast formers on Eucharis, but then Onyx Prime also seems to have his own, army of beast formers going around with him still. So I guess maybe, did he establish Eucharis and then sort of leave kind of the civilians there and then sort of head off back into space with his army, and then did they encounter Antilla and then get sort of attacked by Unicron antibodies or something? I don't know. Yeah. But then he had the talisman. Onyx had the talisman way back when in the Optimus 10 flashback. So maybe he already knew about Unicron then, or I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, though. Onyx was responsible for, raising the three Titans, with... Mm-hmm. So, and that could have been key to his plan to... Who knows how long Onyx has been prepping for Unicron or something,
because he also there's also the thing in that issue about sort of Onyx sort of appreciating the power of sort of stories and things, isn't there, with him and Alpha Trion. Yeah. And then I guess he has gone on to sort of he's rattling off the poem, the sort of wolf will be turned to dust at everyone. So I guess is that tying in as well?
Yes. Oh my God, how? That's the thing. Barber has been building. That's the thing. If this is all if we're on the money, Barber has evidently been building this Unicron thing since at least Andromica 2.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the first kind of, Unicron tease, I'd say. Well, actually, I think the first reference to Primus is opposite. That is in Death of Optimus Prime, I believe. But then there's the whole thing in Syndromica 2 of, Unicron eating LV, whichever one it is. 1 and 7? I don't remember. And then I think the first explicit reference to I was checking this a minute ago. The first explicit reference to to Antilla, or in vague terms, to the planet of rust deserts orbiting a black hole. The first reference to that was in I think in Conquerors in XRID 47. But and it just feels like I feel reasonably confident in that theory. I feel like it ties too much together to sort of be nothing, because otherwise, what's the big deal about Antilla? Why is Onyx going around saying this poem that appears to describe it? Yeah, it's Unicron.
Unicron is Antilla. Boom.
Yeah.
Confirmed. Hashtag confirmed. Hashtag revealed. Hashtag Ranger Nation. To all the people who get that, nice.
So I guess, shall we move on last? To,
we really took a lot longer on talking
we
about
had news as well. That's kind of...
Yeah. All right,
M.A.S.K First Strike, which is
M.A.S.K First Strike, or as it's basically Scarlett Strike Force issue 0 / G.I. Joe issue 11.
Yeah,
it's
not actually a M.A.S.K. Nobody from M.A.S.K appears in this M.A.S.K issue. You get some Venom people, and that's a lot.
Yeah.
I kind of get why they mark. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure actually. I do get why they marketed these one shots this way. I kind of feel like why didn't they just market them as like? Well, I guess G.I. Joe, like G.I. Joe / M.A.S.K First Strike, like was maybe a bit of a mouthful. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I definitely think they made it clearer that they're like two-parters, because I've seen people confused about that.
Yeah, I get that, but it is also like kind of a standard practice to make like one shots like number ones and all that. But
no, I'm questioning making them one shots in the first place. Honestly, like I'd have marketed them as like a bunch of 2-issue limited series, I guess, because that's what they are. They're
pretty much. This issue basically, it wraps up what happened in the last issue. The Joes fight King Cobra. Quick Kick fights Firefly. Storm Shadow shows up.
Yeah.
Not Storm Shadow 2, the character who is honestly a bit more interesting to me as a as someone who with very limited very limited IDW Joe experience, admittedly. But apparently Storm Shadow 1 shows up and is alive. So that raises a couple questions. But I don't actually remember how Storm Shadow died in Agent of... I certainly have not reached that point, so don't ask me.
Let me open that up and flip that through. How's it happen?
Another like kind of weird thing about this issue is also that Destro shows up at the end with Cobra, despite the fact that he's locked up on Cybertron. So, Carlos, you need to double check these things.
Actually, I saw someone else saying that.
I think we as Transformers fans were spoiled with someone like John Barber being the editor for so long. Because he, considered like that, and let's face it, not every editor considers things like that,
But, I feel like kind of the obvious no prize, if you want to know prize. Oh, yeah, I think it was Alexis, I think I saw saying the same idea I'd had, but yeah. What clearly one Destro is a robot decoy. Destro makes robots just like a robot.
Yeah.
That would be within his capabilities.
So he's pulling...
Is there a robot decoy to sell on Cybertron, or is there one back at Cobra HQ, though? That's the question.
So instead of a Doom bot, it's a Destro bot? Yeah.
It's all very possible. It has robots.
Yeah.
Doesn't even need to make fake skin. It's all good.
Well, it is one of those. It is one of those funny things. Is we have the Iron Grenadiers who are robots, but then we have those two Iron Grenadiers who are clearly people at Castle Destro. So it's I like to employ both people and robots. That's what Destro.
Equal opportunities to employ.
But yeah, the thing, M.A.S.K First Strike on the whole was you were looking up Storm Shadow's death.
I've just found it. It's he pulls the pin from a grenade on Snake. I almost said Snake Shadow there. Storm Shadow pulls the pin from a grenade on Snake Eye's belt, and then we get a sort of close up, like shock close up on Snake Eyes' eyes, and then sort of page turn, and Snake Eyes comes limping out of the jungle.
Wait, Snake Eyes has eyes?
Well, yeah, his visor. Yeah. And then Snake Eyes comes limping out of the jungle, so sort of Storm Shadow did kind of die off screen, so it's like, yeah, okay, fair enough. But yeah, I have no interest in seeing Dude Snake Eyes, like, get out of here with that shit. Like,
you mean Dude Storm Shadow?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't hate Storm Shadow. He's certainly the more interesting ninja in G.I. Joe history, if you ask me, than Snake Eyes. But the fact is, we didn't need original Storm Shadow to show back up because we had new Storm Shadow.
Yeah. I do like his outfit. He's got quite a cool outfit. It's clearly trying to mirror like Quick Kick's outfit, but like I like his hoodie with snake fangs on the hood.
Yeah.
That's very like on brand. I like that.
Okay, I like Quick Kick. I like Quick Kick. I like the fact that he beat up Snake Eyes. I don't like this idea that Storm Shadow is now going to be Quick Kick's rival. I'm sorry, but like this is one of those moments where I think historical precedence needs to take primary, and Storm Shadow needs to be Snake Eyes' rival. You know, if he's gonna have
that's the thing. I believe, like, don't quote me on this, but I think this is a cartoon thing.
Oh,
my understanding is that whilst Larry Hama fucking loved him some Snake Eyes, and Snake Eyes was around forever in the Marvel material, and he was rivals with Storm Shadow and everything. In the cartoon, my understanding is that it was Storm Shadow versus Quick Kick more of the time, because by the time Storm Shadow got released, Snake Eyes was old product. So this I believe is a case of Citizen doing stuff. So there is precedent, I believe.
Okay, if that is the case, fair enough. I will say this, as someone who grew up on Sigma 6 and Renegades and Resolute and the live-action movies for G.I. Joe, I have always, the two ninjas, the ninja in black and the ninja in white, have always been rivals, and as such, that is what my brain first thinks of in terms of rivalry. So if there is precedent in, like, the G.I. Joe cartoon, fair enough, but, like, it's weird, like, but it still seems weird to me that, like, that they're now, that Citizen is now trying to push this thing from one incarnation when the vast majority of other incarnations of the franchise have pushed the other thing, which, quite frankly, makes a bit more sense to me to have the two ninjas.
Well, it's sort of because they're mirror images of each other, aren't they?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not unjustified here. I do like the logic of just Storm Shadow decides, oh what, Snake Eyes got beaten by this guy. Okay, well, screw a rival with Snake Eyes. I'm gonna beat this guy.
Yeah. Although I will say this about Quick Kick is I think we're starting to see a little bit of Citizen's favoritism on Quick Kick because of the whole, like, taking out all the ninjas by himself and not needing backup, and now with the rivalry.
I mean, fighting all the ninjas is fair enough, but like dodging a bullet fired directly at his chin is a bit sort of, gosh, okay, right?
Yeah, it's between the Snake Eyes fight, which I still like. I like the fact that the martial arts expert took down the ninja to show why he was there. But between that and now this issue, it is starting to feel a little bit like Citizen is like, I'm gonna have my favorite beat up the fan favorite, beat up the mascot. It's kind of like if I was to write a Transformers story where Inferno takes over from Optimus Prime and becomes the new leader of the Autobots. There's no real I would like it because I love Inferno, but I am in the very small minority there. I know, so it wouldn't really make much narrative sense. But I mean, I'm not a huge G.I. Joe fan in the same way I'm a Transformers fan, so it's whatever to me. So, but yeah.
But just overall, though, just this, G.I. Joe Mask First Strike two-parter is just like, oh my goodness! Like, it basically fixes the one. It fixes the one problem that we have had with Citizens G.I. Joe, which is the incredibly decompressed pacing. But meanwhile, and I guess, because it is a two-parter, it is forced to be like ludicrously like breakneck speed. Doesn't stop for a second and is so good. Like, if Scarlet Strike Force kind of keeps up this pace, which, like, I feel like it probably won't keep this quite this pace, because like it's gonna be 8 issues instead of 2. I hope it retains at least some of it, because these 2 issues are just like, they're fantastic. I love them. It's just, it doesn't stop moving for a second, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah, just trying to think of. I was about to say something else. Oh, right. I also love that Venom is now just getting arrested and getting thrown back in jail for arguably the 3rd time now, depending on the M.A.S.K timeline. So that's funny, and they're all like, "Cobra, I'm Cobra Commander's favorite." It's like, and that's another thing that I didn't quite get, is like, why are they now so instantly loyal to Cobra Commander? But maybe but I mean, I can kind of see it from Sly, because Sly is kind of a bootlicker, but Warfield less so. Bruno not so much. But
I guess kind of the line in part 1 was just that sort of like, Miles Mayhem has turned you over to us for the duration that he's away. So I kind of get it. Yeah. But no, I do absolutely love just Venom as just sort of like schmuck criminals, because that is what they are.
They really are. I mean, especially in the that's the thing. They were always just kind of schmuck criminals. That totally ruined my tongue. I mean, they were kind of schmucks in the original cartoon, but like now, especially in the context of this wider universe, they're even more so, honestly. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It was a nice, fun story. Brought like it, kind of brought the whole Venom thing to a close. It's building towards what we're going to see in Scarlet Strike Force with Crystal Ball and Crocmaster and Raptor have shown up.
Actually, I do want to talk about at the end of that. Because we get kind of 3 new villains teased effectively at the end. We get Cesspool, the like sort of corporation evil polluting guy villain from is it like Eco Force? I think the name of it. But like 90s environment themed G.I. Joe line. And I had no memory of this until I saw it sort of I think been on the wiki article for this issue, but apparently a version of Cesspool was in one of the, I think, Infestation 2 G.I. Joe story, but I had no memory of that. But more notably, like a version of Cesspool who kind of actually looks like this with the scar and everything was in that great Guido Guidi 90s flashback page in Revolutionaries 7. So presumably this is that same Cesspool. Like, presumably this guy, fought Sergeant Savage 20 years ago, which, I don't see why that wouldn't work. But then, we've got Crocmaster and Raptor. And again, Raptor was in both G.I. Joe Infestation stories. He's in the first one, and then he goes mad for reasons that I don't remember, and is in then the second one, which is set in a Cobra insane asylum, basically. Yeah. And I forget if he has a real bird or is it a robot bird. I think he has a real bird for some reason in one of them. I don't remember. Well, there's definitely some form of bird. But he wasn't portrayed like he is in this, looking like his original toy and stuff. Yeah. But then Crocmaster, it's kind of disappointing because IDW had done Crocmaster at length. He's in the Costa Cobra material, and he's sort of this sort of gangly, creepy, sewer man who he speaks in a weird font in broken sentences and is scary. but now he's just like a burly guy who talks normally. It's like, oh,
That's
okay.
the thing. I've seen some page screen caps of some of the Crocmaster stuff, and I really did I was like, oh man, I can't wait till I get to this point in my Joe reading, because he seemed like such a cool such a cool guy. So the fact that he ultimately ends up just kind of being, just kind of back to, I guess, now I'm assuming that this was his original 80s persona of just kind of tough guy. That's super disappointing. It really is.
Yeah.
Instead of kind of the monster dweller kind of thing. So
Yeah, I think he eats people. I feel like he eats people.
like a crocodile then.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know, kind of Killer Croc, but if Killer Croc was just a scary gangly ghoul man instead of an actual crocodile monster.
Well, Killer Croc is weird because it really depends on who's writing him and what continuity you go with. Because sometimes he's a mutated crocodile dude, other times he's a dude with a skin condition. It's weird. It's really weird.
But yeah, no, it is kind of disappointing to see Crocmaster just be a guy. Yeah.
Just be a guy with some crocodiles instead of
I'm not opposed to giving
guy.
him. I'm not opposed to giving him his stupid crocodile skin vest from the original toy. That's a laugh. I'm fine with that. On the belt that's got a big crocodile eye on it. But just making him a big muscly dude who talks normally is kind of really.
Yeah.
And it almost kind of makes you wonder if Citizen actually did the reading and knows that was a Crocmaster, or if he is just willfully just saying he's different now, deal with it.
Yeah.
Either way, it's disappointing though.
It's one of those weird things where sometimes it seems like he has done past reading, sometimes he hasn't. I mean, that's the thing. The fact that we still haven't seen Serpentor show up in this cult Cobra thing is weird. The fact that we are building to a Galabulus point or story, and we don't have Serpentor and the coil,
yeah,
really,
it's odd.
Really, that's weird. It's weird. It's weird. It's weird.
Especially Serpentor's in the cartoon, and he feels the exact kind of kooky G.I. Joe thing that Citizen would be into. So yeah, it's weird he hasn't turned up.
Oh my god, dude! Okay, imagine IDW Serpentor in 80s Serpentor costume. Wouldn't that be amazing?
I forget how close he's gotten to that. I feel hasn't he worn a headdress at some point?
Has he? I maybe I haven't seen it. Maybe I.
Because I know he's he hangs around in a suit. Oh no, he hasn't. He's just got a hood.
Yeah, he's got that hood, but he doesn't have the full.
He's just got a hood.
The full thing. I want the full thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, he's got a bit of a face thing, but it's not. Yeah, it's around his chin, but no, it's not a full blown stupid snake hat.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it is weird. I hadn't really been thinking about it, but yeah, no, that is an odd omission that we are going into, a Globulus story without Serpentor, and possibly I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I'm totally in favour of this kind of positioning Cobra to being a weird snake cult instead of just a serious terrorist organisation. I'm up for that, but. Yeah, no, it's just the inconsistency with with characters almost. That it's kind of odd.
So
yeah, I am looking forward to Scarlet Strike Force, but I hope that it can learn something from this two-parter and dial up the pace a bit.
Yeah, hopefully.
We'll see.
All right. Next up, let's talk about Optimus Prime number 14, or not number 14. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. 12. Number 12.
Yes.
Primeless Part 2. I guess I should start off by asking, what did you think of this issue?
I liked it. Yeah, sort of. It's nice that Primeless has given us a chance to sort of to spend some time with the characters who've been more on the sidelines as of late in Optimus Prime. So I Actually, yeah, this is the first time Optimus Prime as a series has been to Sanctuary Station, isn't it?
Yeah. This is the first time we've seen it since at least All Hail Megatron, or All Hail Optimus. Sorry.
Yeah. So it's nice to sort of check in with sort of some of the sort of tertiary cast that we've sort of had established in sort of this book and an XR before it. So you kind of Needle Noses and your Skybites and I forget, like, have Laserbeak and Buzzsaw been on Earth at all for Optimus Prime?
Didn't they help Cosmos infiltrate the Junkion ship?
That was the Frumbles.
Oh.
In with Cosmos.
Oh.
So yeah, I don't remember if Laserbeak and Buzzsaw have been on it.
I feel like they at least showed up briefly, Buzzsaw and Laserbeak. I know they showed up very briefly at one point in the first arc of Optimus Prime. So yeah. But
oh no, yeah, they are definitely. There's a story link here for them. Yeah, they are at least in. They show up in the first arc at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, it's nice to check in with these kind of characters, and then also spend some focus on the Colonist. The sort of Colonist squad.
See, that's the thing. I really feel like First Strike was the story that needed to happen to this book because of the huge cast that a quote unquote solo book like Optimus Prime has. You know, they needed a story where Optimus and RC and Pirate Magna get, shuffled off to do their own thing. That way we could have a story that really focuses in on the B characters, like Aileron, like the Colonists, and it gets us back to Sanctuary Station to see Cosmos and all that. Admittedly, we don't really do much on Sanctuary Station. It's just basically the brief thing, the brief first few pages. But it's nice that we get to see that we get some focus on these characters and really develop them. That's the thing, because the Colonists really have not had any sort of real character development until now, and this is what we really needed from them. I also love that this book continues the narrative, the almost The Office style interviews with the characters. That I really love that narrative device. I think it works really well. Keeping that narrative device, especially consistent across all of, the First Strike tie-ins and this, I really think works. Especially because those are getting collected in the trade. I really enjoy that. And honestly, I wouldn't mind if Barber uses this more often, in the future. I think it's a narrative device that works. So. Yeah, I mean, especially at the end that we got to see all the we got to see all the colonists sort of give their take on their religion. It's cool. I like it. So I'll be honest. When I was first reading this, I was kind of expecting some of the humans to be people, the same way that last issue had.
They are not gratuitous continuity references. Of human interviews.
Although who knows? Maybe I don't know. I'll have to double check that Skywatch character. See if she's not supposed to be someone in the background from the Costa run or something. But it was one of those things. I was like, oh well, characters with names. They must be people, and then it's oh no, they're just new creations. That's weird.
It's not unreasonable to assume that if a person has a name in a comic, that there's some kind of continuity reference. But they don't seem to be.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past them to be sort of crowd fillers in previous Optimus Prime issues or something. Maybe, I don't know. But no, it's been nice, this little two-parter.
Yeah.
And Andrew Griffith art on this one, after having everyone and their dog kind of drawing last issue. You have Andrew Griffith all the way through on this one. it's nice to have him back on what is effectively still the same comic that he draws.
Yeah, and combined with last issue, it's fitting that he follows up the previous issue, which was a cavalcade of artists Barber has worked with. So logically, the second part is entirely the artist that Barber has worked with the most. So it's kind of fitting. So I liked it.
And what is
the colors? And the colors.
Oh yeah,
continue.
I was going to say the exact same thing. Yeah,
yeah. The colors, work so well to
they tie
a blend. Yes.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
That's actually, I'm sure I saw people sort of talking about how I think some people have been thinking that is Andrew Griffith is trying to sort of mimic Zama's art style a bit, but no, it's just you're being fooled here by the colours.
I mean, but that shows how great Bertram's colors are. That's what makes it so brilliant. The same way that people thought Sarah was trying to mimic Kay's art in the last issue.
That Sarah was purpose doing that.
Yeah, but
Sarah was inking harder. I remember she tweeted about it, I think.
Yeah, but that's saying like people mistook her art for Kay's. So
I did when the iTunes preview first came out. I got confused and thought because I kind of thought, wait, that face on Thundercracker seems kind of Sarah, but this ink is way too heavy for Sarah.
Yeah.
So I got confused when I first saw the iTunes preview.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And I like just from this issue. I like the field that it's Rumble and Frenzy. They've been selling guns to humans.
I know.
It's so in character.
Yeah. Oh. And I love their hollow matter avatars.
Yeah.
Turned out to be Jules and Vincent from Pulp Fiction. I mean, I
like that Rumble and Frenzy apparently know enough Earth culture to pick those as disguises. Do they have movie night on Sanctuary Station?
See, what is especially interesting to me is does that mean that that Rumble and Frenzy in IDW continuity have always sounded like Samuel L. Jackson and I know. Just imagine Rumble sounding like Sam Jackson. Oh my god.
Yeah, one thing I like as well that so kind of going forward from this issue, we have Jazz as a voice of dissent against Optimus, who isn't being a complete idiot about it. Like some people, I'm looking at you, Slide. It's
Slide's the worst.
Sort of got a reasonable position there, Slide, but then you've got to go and add. Also, Peace is bad, actually, onto that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Screw Slide. She's just the worst. Hate her.
So yeah, I'm glad that we've got Jazz with basically the same position, but being more sensible about it, and that is clearly going to kind of come back and he is going to come back and confront Optimus at some point.
Yeah. But I like that he gets to kind of go off and do his own thing, and I also like that because it's one less character in the supporting cast that we have to worry about. I enjoy when characters can go off and do their own thing that we can go and revisit, but then they're not a constant presence that we feel like we need to still develop. It's one of the reasons why I thought it was a good idea for them to kill off Sideswipe. A, because it got us that great issue, and B, because it's it provides it's one less character that we have to worry about in a huge cast, and it provides more drama down the road with characters like Sunstreaker and all that. So on the whole, it worked out pretty well. So I'm looking forward to see what happens when Jazz does resurface again.
Yeah, well, you can wonder when that will be, because I mean, I guess he could turn up during the Fall-In, but it kind of feels like after the Fall-In, we're basically going to be heading in towards well, Unicron and possibly the end of the book. I don't know. I'm still operating on the assumption that these books will be ending in the mid-20s, quite possibly issue 23 for that 80 total with the previous ones. I think it still looks that way, but yeah. Everything, certainly Lost Light, I think, is leading towards ending at that point. Especially with it's because we know that the story starting in Lost Light. Wait, let me count in my head. Lost Light 16, because I think 14, 15. Yeah, 14, 15 is the final Scavengers story.
Yay!
And then we know that starting in 15 is the next War of the Messiah / Lost Light epic, in quotation marks, and it's not being described as the grand finale because they've not announced that the books are ending yet, but I feel like it probably is the grand finale.
Yeah. We shall see. We shall see what happens in the future of the Lost Light. But yeah.
Actually, because Optimus, next issue, we have got the start of a two-parter about the Dinobots and Optimus in the Wastelands, and Trypticon is a Dinobot.
Yep. And BlackRock's going to be in that. And
BlackRock's in it, yeah.
Yes. So
spoilers: BlackRock doesn't die in Transformers First Strike.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. I mean, the question has been what's going to happen to the Revolutionaries. So the fact that at least one is gonna be continuing as a supporting role, which we knew would happen for the Onyx Prime story stuff.
Well, I was going to say,
we knew BlackRock would have to stick around. It is going to be interesting, though, if that means we're also going to see what happens with the rest of the characters, especially because, let's face it, you can kind of just, you can put Ayana with, you can put Mayday with Talon's group of Joes. You can put her, or with Marissa, as, her personal guard or whatever, because, of their friendship. You can bring back Cup and put him back on Team Optimus. The one thing that is really changes from XRID would be the inclusion of Action Man. And Action Man's great, so always more Action Man. So, yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to what's happening next in Optimus Prime.
Yeah. Right. So, shall we move on to clue number 5? So it's the penultimate issue now, and it's all getting very intense.
Yeah, this is the penultimate. This is the penultimate issue. We're heading towards our finale, and boy, oh boy! I thought last issue was full of intrigue. Boom. This one. So here's what we know for certain now. Miss Scarlett is dead. So now we have.
I don't know. No one's checked the body. She could be alive. And she's not.
They said she was bleeding, and I'm assuming she's bleeding from her head.
I guess. It just makes you wonder, though, because she's not crossed out on the cast page, despite having already been pushed off the balcony and stuff by the start of this issue.
Yeah, but that's because we didn't see her fall last issue. We didn't see, we just heard the scream.
Wait, oh.
Yeah, we just heard the...
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we did see it,
Yeah.
See it in full.
Yeah, that's the thing. We saw... We heard the scream, and we didn't see her actually dead until the start of this issue, so that's why they didn't cross her out yet. But, yeah, Scarlett's dead. I mean, that's the thing. I don't think Upton would lie to us. At least not at this point. I trust Upton, okay? I trust our omniscient narrator. But yeah, so Miss Scarlett's dead. It's revealed that Senator White murdered Detective Ochre.
Yeah.
And apparently moved all her 2 tons worth of stuff and her barricade to create an alibi, which is good because we did not expect her at all. Mr. Green apparently hasn't actually not killed anybody, which I knew because I knew he was going to be too spineless to actually kill anybody. Also, we get his full name, which is, what was it? Nikolai Martin Green. And it's pretty obvious where that Martin part comes from. So, clever. But yeah, and the other big reveal is that Dr. Orchid is apparently A-Body's daughter.
Yeah, like
that I was not expecting.
Twist.
Yeah, that's a twist for you. And so she's apparently been colluding with Body for this whole thing.
And that kind of makes a lot of sense in hindsight with the way that sort of she and Plum kind of dragged them. Yeah, she basically dragged Plum off out on their own, out away from everyone else, kind of thing. So that sort of, you can see how that
that is what I love about mystery stories, is that once things are revealed, you can go back and look at the other issue and look at the previous stuff and be like, oh, this makes sense. Oh, all that. At least a well-constructed mystery story, grant you. And this very much is a well-constructed mystery. So, yeah. So
now I don't. Who the hell killed Mrs. Peacock then? Because what?
I'm thinking it's Orchid.
I guess, but then
Orchid.
But if she's in cahoots with Body, then it's never felt like since the reveal that Body faded out. It hasn't seemed like he intended to kill anyone. Almost. I don't know. Yeah. Weird.
This thing, obviously, Body's full plot will be revealed in the next issue. I guess my current guess is that Orchid killed Peacock. So,
I guess by kind of process of elimination, it feels like. But I don't know. I also kind of find myself wondering if there's another not real death on our hands.
Yeah. Unless. Yeah, I guess either Peacock could be I guess.
I don't.
Yeah, I guess Peacock either could be in on it as well, and so her death was faked, but
I don't know. But I guess
I don't know.
I guess Colonel Mustard and Senator White are still suspects of Mrs. Peacock, I suppose.
Yeah. Well,
despite they haven't really been dead,
Yeah, true. Yeah, because they only died after. But I feel like it would be Orchid because she would be in on the whole plan with Body and all that, and then has, and of course Peacock has the connection to Plum, and Orchid was supposed to watch out for Plum. Oh, I don't know. That is still the big question. So, yeah, it's hard to know.
But wait, because does Orchid have any kind of alibi for Peacock shooting? Because what of the
Oh my gosh! Hold on, I'll find it.
Okay, so no, Mustard and Scarlett are accounted for here in the actual issue itself, and then the two detectives are accounted for in the bonus page that the bonus pages that the digital copy has. But yeah, I'm not sure what I've ever learned what was in the bonus pages, the other two bonus pages for issue 1.
Well, I don't have my physicals with me, and that's the only way I have the other bonus pages. So let me check the wiki real quick.
Oh yes, that is a good point. That seems to account for Mr. Green and Senator White. Again, B is Mustard again. So who does that leave as? So Scarlett that possibly does leave, Orchid as Peacock's killer, I think.
Okay, that is my theory right now. Orchid killed Peacock. Boom. That's my theory.
Yes.
Or Upton killed. Or something involved with the scheme, okay? It's something involved with whatever Body's scheme is. That's the real mystery for Clue right now, is what the hell is Body's scheme? What is going on? Bah! So. So yeah.
Yeah, no. Orchid and Plum are the only two people who could have killed Peacock, I think.
Yeah, but I'm fairly certain it wasn't. I mean, unless it was Plum because of his whole connection with, like, wasn't it Mr. Peacock was his dad? Am I remembering that right?
Oh gosh, yeah. I remember now off the top of my head.
So yeah, but there's clearly got to be something going on there. So it's definitely one of them two. One of them two, but probably Orchid is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's Orchid. So yes.
But yeah, it's just the series is really good, isn't it? It's a very nice mystery story. There's sort of lots of moving parts to kind of theorize about, and it's very funny.
Yeah.
Great art.
So much fun.
I like the sort of opening 2 pages of this issue with sort of no dialogue and nice big kind of splash panels. It's all very sort of impactful. And the tiny kind of Mr. Green on the balcony on page 2, just with a sort of head in his hands.
Yeah, that's great.
Just that whole opening bit with Green trying desperately to convince Maria that he didn't murder Scarlett, despite it looking super like he just murdered Scarlett.
Yeah. But that's the other thing about, like, because Miss Scarlett's whole thing is, like, she was the person of least interest, and also she didn't actually get murdered. She died by accident. It's like, you kind of gotta feel bad for her.
Yeah.
It's like, nobody was even interested enough to murder you. It's sad. But yeah.
What I like as well, just a bit later in the issue, is Plum's like ridiculous sort of using ketchup on the floor
and then writing out mustard
in mustard.
Yeah. So, next issue, all will be revealed.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Better be.
Better be, yeah. Or otherwise I would be very disappointed. This would be worse than First Strike number 6.
Oh.
Yeah, so... Shall we move on to our final book?
Yes, yeah. I'd wrap up with, Rom's wrap up.
Rom.
14.
Rom the Wraithslayer. Rom the Space Knight. So, this was a finale? Was it?
Of sorts. Yeah.
Of sorts. It definitely... It's weird. I mean, this was supposed to come out months ago. And I think this...
Like 3 months?
Yeah, this was supposed to come out in September. Well... No.
Actually, yeah, this was supposed to come out before First Strike even started, wasn't it?
Right, but Ryle's... Oh, yeah, but Ryle's letter says September 2017, so... So that's why I was like, oh, well, it's supposed to come out in December. But no, yeah, it was supposed to come out before First Strike, or at least in the same month of First Strike.
And well, actually, certainly that letter as well kind of makes it seem like Rom... Like, unlike some of the others, Rom potentially did actually have delays beyond just, like, shipping and printing. Like,
so this is the wrap-up. This basically wraps up the primary storyline of Long Roads to Ruin with Scylla and Charybdis, while also continuing to set the stage for, A, Rom and the Micronauts, and B, the Presence absence, but apparently there's now another Wraith god that we have to deal with, like even worse than the Presence and the absence.
Wait, no, it is. Huh? Well, no, it's the Presence, isn't it? Like we've not had the Presence yet.
Yeah, we haven't had the Presence. Sorry, I've been getting the absence and the presence all mixed up in my head. So, but no, it is the presence though.
Yeah, the presence.
We've had the absence. Now we have the presence. So it's really building up that storyline some more.
Which, yeah, they're talking of wraiths. Who's Charybdis? Because Scylla is the big lobstery one that's like the church one that they sort of are fighting in this issue. It's addressed by name as Scylla, but which one is Charybdis? Has that name even been used outside of the solicits?
Hold on.
And because
I'm trying to pull up my copy.
Because this issue even kind of treats most of the sort of monsters that they're fighting in this as being kind of extensions of Scylla's will that it's sort of controlling directly rather than being separate individuals.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure who, if anyone, is actually supposed to be Charybdis.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair point, actually. Yeah. But still, we finish up with the whole. I don't know. I can't. Yeah, I'm not finding it anywhere. Whatever.
Yeah.
But it's really not that big of a deal in the long run.
No.
But yeah, I will say one thing that I was surprised by with this issue is the way it ended, because I've been saying for months now, it feels. I was totally expecting Livia and Orpheon to go back up to space so that Rom can do his thing with the Micronauts, and and First Strike, the Rom and Micronauts First Strike issues seem to confirm this. And the fact that they didn't was really weirdly jarring for me. Like I like Livia and Orpheon, don't get me wrong, but I'm kind of tired of him. I kind of want Rom to be his own dude for a while, especially if he's teaming up with the Micronauts. It's weird that they're sticking around, especially because are they just gonna disappear off panel between now and Rom and the Micronauts? Because Rom references the fact that he's on his own in the Micronauts First Strike. It is confusing to say the least.
Yeah, it's just weird. Because I was taking for granted the fact that they'd the other knights would be off doing something at the end of this issue. But it's weird.
Yeah, it really is. Oh, and this issue had no Darby and Camilla at all. Which
wait, oh no, it doesn't, does it?
Yeah, nothing with those supporting characters that have been with us since issue 1, which I think which I think goes back to what I was saying a couple issues ago, which is this book has too many subplots. We need to curb a few.
I mean, part of the reason though is that the main story in this issue only has 14 pages because the backup story gets 2 extra this issue. Because the backup story eats pages in the main issue.
You're right.
Yeah. 14 pages, the main story. So it is pretty rushed.
I enjoy that backup story, but it has hurt the plot that that we're actually here for, Mm-hmm. So, So, I mean, that's the thing. This was basically just a finale to the current story arc, but it's not really a finale in terms of anything.
Oh, well, no, it is.
The long form on, with the long game arc. So, it's a decent finale, but it's it doesn't really set us up in any significant way for Rom and the Micronauts. It just kind of ends. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. They beat Scylla and Charybdis. The Orpheon discovers the presence of discovers the presence. Livia and Rom also discovered the presence, you know, like, because Scylla, like, tells them about it. But, yeah, there's no, you know, there's no real finality to anything. So...
No, yeah, it's literally just, it's the end of this story arc and nothing else. It's not, it's not a real finale of kind of, anything beyond that.
This issue also gives us the end of the Battle Scars backup. So, Callum, what did you think of this kind of conclusion?
I mean, I guess in a way it was sort of nothing happened in it that we weren't expecting. We kind of knew that Phylar basically had to end up dead in order for his armor to get picked up by the Wraiths. But kind of, as has been the case always with this backup story, it's very nice to look at, like, bang up job from sort of all involved.
Yeah.
And it's nice, I guess, to get the sort of specifics of what happened to Phylar, and it's a sort of sweet, final sacrifice he makes.
Well, and this also gives us some more like background on Rom, because he destroys the planet, but Phylar says to him, like, before he does, it's like you know, like, you can't allow another planet to get destroyed or something, like, by the Wraiths again. So I almost wonder if that is supposed to be the moment where he's like, hey, maybe blowing up planets isn't the best idea, especially like a planet that was sentient, like Verdulin 5. I also really dug, like, you know, at the end, like, Phylar's armor is, like, floating in, like, you know, it's, like, floating in space.
Yeah.
And then, like, the Wraiths, like, recover it and all that. But there's that moment where, like, the Wraith is holding it out towards the camera, for lack of a better word. And, like, there's, like, the, like red light of his eyes is, like, turning into, like, blood, like, leaking down the front. I thought that was a really, really good image. Like, that was...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's the one thing that I really have loved about this backup story is the art. And that right there, like, oh, that was a great image.
Well, actually, because equally, like, Rom, sort of, well, I don't know, because the actual, like, the script, though, sort of, it makes a sort of deal out of sort of Rom sort of losing some part of herself in committing this action. Because, he describes himself as, when I fired my neutralizer into Verdulin, I lost more than my friend. I abandoned a part of my humanity. This war, what it has taken from me can never be regained. Yeah. The Wraith planet of Verdulin 5 claimed more than Phylar that day. Another casualty was Rom of Ilonia. Now there was only Rom, Space Knight. Yeah,
which, I mean, goes into Rom's whole, I mean, that's his whole thing is, you know, the whole struggle of the war and the losing of his humanity. So I loved that line. That was brilliant.
Yeah, no, it's interesting seeing kind of a Rom at a different point in his sort of Space Knighting career.
Yeah.
I wonder, when's this set relative to
that's what I was
the Transformers so well?
That's like literally exactly what I was about to bring up was I wonder when this is set. I feel like in all likelihood it's but I could almost see it as being before. Because we certainly don't get a look at Phylar. We certainly don't, and we don't even get any. I don't even think we get any references to Phylar in the ROM versus Transformers.
Yeah, I don't think we do.
So, wow.
Yeah, I feel like it is maybe. Yeah.
So it's before. Like, I could see this easily being very early. But if it was before, that then raises the question of why did no one assign him a new partner when he was... So it might actually have to be after.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so actually now that I'm thinking about it, it'd have to be after.
Because, is this intended to be the specific reason why Rom, is tooling around on his own? at the start of the series, yeah. But then equally the whole sort of at that moment he became Rom Space Knight feels like it's kind of an early kind of thing that would happen to him. Surely, I don't know.
I feel like what it is it's probably like early, but like after Rom versus Transformers, but like soon after, so it's still within like early in the 200-year kind of time gap that we have. And he's kind of just like spent like, almost who knows, almost a century without a partner and without reporting back to Soulstar Space. So, yeah, it's hard to know.
Oh, actually, because here we go. Because I was looking it up during reinforcements. Got some dialogue from Orpheon here. Why did you not request a new partner when yours was killed, as regulations require? Why have you not shattered this world already? Surely you are aware of the Cybertronian presence on Earth. Surely you're aware of the Cybertronian presence on Earth. You, of all knights, know the horror that results when wraiths merge with them. So that would suggest that this is, that backup is after Rom versus Transformers. And I guess Orpheon hasn't seen Rom since then, so it can't be that. I don't know. How often are Space Knights required to check in at home base? I don't know.
I mean, it could be one. Who knows? But that then asks the question: how long maybe Orpheon and Livia have been pursuing Rom for a while to maybe it's one of those things where he was supposed to check in and he hasn't. So So who knows how long that's been? They've been pursuing him. Stopping by any wraiths-infested worlds and blowing them up along the way.
So actually, we don't have a time frame for kind of when, because I'm guessing is Rom versus Transformers as well? Is that? I would guess is that before the Soulstar Order kind of takes the Wraith homeworld. And the Wraiths end up, because I guess maybe is the idea then that before that kind of we have the Rom versus Transformers situation where the Space Knights are all operating as one big team pretty much based out of Colonia and are flying around in big groups doing stuff. But then after they have the Rom commercial voiceover, they kind of prevail against the space against the Wraith homeworld and are now seeking the scattered kind of remaining Wraiths. Is it at that point that the Knights end up kind of heading off into space on their own in pairs?
That is a good question. So I don't know.
That would be my take, I guess.
But it definitely happens some point between Rom versus Transformers and at some point during and between reinforcements. So it's just a matter of when. So but overall, this was a decent little backup story. I just hate the way that it cuts into the page count of the main series, and quite frankly, that's disappointing. It's frustrating. But overall, this was a good, solid story. I like that it gave us a bit more background on, gave us a bit more story with Phyla and all that. The art was fantastic.
It's lovely.
I'm not just saying that because Sal Buscema worked on it, but it's seriously so good.
I really like how the kind of art looks because, I think the thing that makes it, that I at least especially like, is that the colorist doesn't leave the inks pure black, which a lot of retro inspired art will just heavily emulate how a comic printed in the 80s would look. But this it does modern digital coloring on retro kind of quote unquote inks, and it looks really nice. I really like how it kind of looks with tinted inks and a modernish colouring aesthetic on the 80s looking inks, and it just ends up looking very nice.
It's definitely is real nice. And I mean, I'm sure we've said it before, but like Alessandra Alexakis, like, does such a great job.
Oh yeah,
Like coloring these so differently from the main series. It's that it really stands out. So, yeah. But yeah, so I think that's it for the backup story.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. So, I guess shall we should we go ahead and do our little look back at ROM as a series?
Yeah.
So, Callum, what are your thoughts on ROM as a whole, looking back after this finale?
I feel like ROM has been it's been one of the most consistent of the Hasbro Universe books. Probably alongside Joe, it's been of kind of a very consistent level of quality, but equally it hasn't its peaks haven't been as high as some of the others. It's been consistently solid, but kind of rarely remarkable. I think I would struggle to I could only think of a handful of things to say that ROM has done wrong or done badly, but equally it's never quite amazed me either. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I definitely get what you're saying.
It's I really like ROM as I think my biggest takeaway from the ROM book is that I really like ROM as a character. He's lovely. I like him. He is a good old fashioned kind of knight. He wants to protect the innocent and
I mean that's
best for everyone.
That I think has always been the strength of ROM is the fact of ROM's character is just is he is interesting enough that he can carry this whole series. But yeah, I definitely agree with what you were saying earlier about how it's a solid, well-constructed book, but definitely hasn't had quite the didn't have the bigness that Micronauts had in its first arc. Didn't have quite the it hasn't had the balls to the wall zaniness of G.I. Joe. It's solid, direct storytelling, but its biggest problem has just been the way that just quite frankly, I think the biggest problem with the book has been the myriad of subplots that have ended up not really synthesizing very well. It was good, it was really good, when Camilla was a central part to, Camilla to the reinforcements. But it's one of those things. It was just kind of, it's one of those things where Darby went off to do her own thing. Camilla had, showed up here and there, but it didn't really have a synthesized story for all the characters, really, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I know what you mean. It it ended up with it set too many plates spinning to spend a satisfying amount of time with all of them. Certainly, I really question that. Well, I mean, I guess the decision was made because Livia and Orpheon join the main cast and have to be the ones that hang out with Rom. But the point at which Darby and Camilla, get shuffled off to the side is the point at which it starts feeling a bit unsatisfying at times, I would say.
It's one of those things I actually find kind of ironic, because the Marvel ROM series would actually briefly introduce other Space Knights for 1 or 2 issues, and then send them off, but would consistently have a main human cast that we'd follow on Earth. The only time we didn't have that was when Rom himself would go off into space, and we'd follow Rom in space, where he'd meet Galactus and all that. But we very much would have a consistent human presence, and I feel like the opposite is true of this series. Now, not to say that deviating from the Marvel series is a criticism in and of itself. I'm just saying it's weirdly it's a weird deviation that is like noticeable, and not necessarily for the best. So, but yeah, but I mean overall, ROM has been fairly enjoyable. It's just that as once we got into this final arc, especially with the backup story, that was when it started to falter, and that's disappointing to say. As a huge ROM fan, and it's disappointing that this book has had these problems. And I really want, when it comes back as a solo title after ROM and the Micronauts, I really want it to have a bit more narrowed focus, if you will.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think kind of, I don't know. If you asked me sort of what I would want out of, like, let's imagine we're going back to a ROM solo title after the Micronauts crossover. Like, I don't know, I think maybe what like I would sort of say I want out of ROM is maybe more of sort of like more of a sort of, I don't know, distinct kind of tone almost. Like, I feel like it would do well to sort of lean more definitively into, say, sort of like the horror aspects or something, just because I feel it's kind of
see that,
it suffers a little from just not having sort of, like I was saying, it's solid, but sort of, I don't know, it's never felt sort of remarkable to me, like a thing that kind of, because I don't know, like Citizen Joe is sort of defined by its sort of kind of being a bit sort of like goofy and sort of and kind of its action, and I don't know, I feel like it could do with more of a sort of strong kind of tonal kind of unique selling point almost, and something like leaning into sort of like horror aspects. I think like
that would
could maybe give it that.
That would be really good. Like I say, I try to avoid comparing it to the original series, but if there is one thing, it's that we haven't gotten quite as much of, like, we got a bit of it in the first story arc, but once the other Space Knights showed up, it was mostly sci-fi, and we haven't really leaned into as much of the paranoia element that the wraiths give to this universe. Granted, that's also because we have like wraiths are now known to like the Transformers and G.I. Joe and all that, but still.
I mean, no, this isn't really sort of kind of, it's not kind of big sort of like myth arc material, but almost just sort of put sort of like kind of ROM kind of like alone in the dark without its neutralizer, sort of do a sort of like a wholesale like ROM horror miniseries. Like, I'd be into that, say.
Yeah. Well, and another thing that was kind of played with, but they didn't really, I don't feel like it really went anywhere, was this idea that ROM, like, his analyzer, like, wasn't detecting wraiths. I feel like that kind of dropped after a while. Admittedly, it was one of those things where I was like, when that first happened, I was like, oh, well, this is totally like a deviation. But it's, but I feel like that would be something maybe to revisit. Honestly, though, I think one of the biggest things that will help ROM in a solo title is to make it a solo title outside of like his, obviously have his human supporting cast, but get rid of the other Space Knights and let's focus on ROM on his own. That's kind of his thing, is that he's alone. I mean, it's like literally was something like Dirge remarked on in the first story arc was, diary was Space Knights usually travel in pairs. ROM didn't. That's weird. So let's focus in on ROM as a solo act without.
Yeah.
With like, again, I mean, I do think he does need a human, a human supporting cast. But
yeah.
But ROM is the main Space Knight.
Well, yeah, it ended up becoming a bit of sort of kind of ROM and the Space Knights.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Which would work if he was like out in space. Like I would totally. That's what I originally thought we would get. Like after ROM solo series was him going into space and all that with some of the other knights. But I feel like while he's on Earth, he's better on his own.
Yeah, no, yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Yeah, it's ended up being a bit just Rom and all the Space Knights just like fighting stuff, and oh yeah, certainly like this Long Road to Ruin arc has just basically felt a bit just like Rom and Livia get into some fights, pretty much, because you've got with a larger, and then also spending the reduced page count, and then spending some of those reduced pages trying to move the humans' story along a bit. It ends up what's left. You end up with just Rom and Livia have some fights, and like I kind of find myself wishing that just with a tighter focus you could actually have something more character driven.
Yeah, so overall it's been pretty solid. It's faltered with its last story arc, but I really do hope they can get back to some of that like really solidness. But yeah, give it its own something to really make it a bit more unique than like all the other series have had. Like Micronauts had its space opera-ness, G.I. Joe has its zaniness, that kind of thing. M.A.S.K has its terribleness. Don't do that, obviously, because I want Rom to be good.
Yeah, I feel like
I will never not find something to criticize M.A.S.K about. It's so bad. Anyways.
I feel like Rom, it needed something to make it stand out a bit more, tonally. Yeah. I've always thought. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to Rom and the Micronauts. From the solicits we've had, it sounds interesting. Although I do still question the fact that it does seem like it is going to be the Rom finale that this arc wasn't in any way. And so I do find myself being about having them introducing not only the Micronauts but also Baron Karza into that. It feels a bit like, guys. But I don't. But equally, I mean, if they were set on doing a crossover mini, I mean, you probably couldn't have held off any much longer on the whole presence story. So I mean, I guess I get why they're doing it that way.
Yeah. But yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I think that'll just about bring us to a close. So, we might actually get this... we're on the 1 hour and 57 minute mark for this recording. So, this episode actually came in under 2 hours. Yay! Thank you so much for listening to Action and Adventure, the Hasbro Universe podcast. If you want to listen to more episodes, you can find us on our Libsyn page, on YouTube, on Google Play, on iTunes. And hey, while you're on iTunes, leave us a review. It's one of the best ways to help us out. And of course, our episodes are hosted every week on allspark.com, one of the best Transformers communities out there. We are super happy to be a part of the Allspark family, if you will. And of course, while you're on the Allspark, join the forums, and you can join us in our Action and Adventure thread, where we are always talking about new stuff. And of course, you can submit your stories for our Hasbro Universe Ranked segment, which I think will probably begin we'll probably start doing that next episode to fill some time, or maybe the following episode, because we only have, one book coming out next week, and I just and I just realized we were technically supposed to do next week's comics before we'd launched into the whole self-promotion thing, so whoops.
All one comic is out in the next fortnight, which is Transformers, aka Revolutionaries, First Strike, including that two-parter. But that is it for the fortnight, which is weird. But I mean, I guess we are the number of active books is reducing at this point, but still one in the fortnight. I was a bit like.
You can also continue to follow us on social media. Our Twitter is at HasbroU Podcast. Our Tumblr is HasbroUniversePodcast.tumblr.com. That's pretty much it. And of course, you can also submit your stories for Hasbro Universe Ranked on our Twitter using the hashtag #RankedSubmit. It's different from what we originally said, but this is a better hashtag. So if you use the hashtag #RankedSubmit and give us 3 stories, we will add them to our list of rankings whenever we do the next ranking segment. So yes.
I'm looking forward to getting into those. Yeah.
Yes, I know, because I guess we want to. It's like I know some like among the ones that we've gotten submitted so far, it's some good stuff, and we'll have to decide. We'll be making some more rules about like sort of how are we going to categorize certain things, like a certain G.I. Joe story that was submitted to us that is technically 10 stories, but
I figure we do them as like do it as a whole thing instead of it's a set kind of.
All right. So, but we'll get into that next time.
Yeah.
So yes, Callum, where can our lovely listeners, you are lovely, where can they find you on the internet?
All over the place. Twitter, Tumblr, Allspark, TF Wiki, IDW Wiki, occasionally other places. All under the username Jala Guy, Jala Guy. Like, you can literally just, like, if you're on a place, you can just search up to see if there's a user called Jala Guy, and if there is, it'll be me. So, yeah, I'm simple.
Yes. You can find me on Twitter at Daniel Adkins PRD. That's where I'm usually at ranting about comic books or other such things that anger or annoy me, like Transformers fandom. JK, Transformers fans, I love you. Sometimes. That's pretty much the primary thing, and you can follow me from my links there. I'm on the Allspark, I'm on the TF Wiki, I'm on the IDW Hasbro Wiki, all the usual Transformers places. I used to do YouTube stuff. I might actually start doing YouTube stuff again, so you can find me on YouTube under Daniel Adkins. We'll see. And be sure to join us next time, where we will be maybe, this is the key word, but we may be joined by a special guest. No hints yet. But it'll be a good episode, so... thank you so much for listening, ladies, gentlemen, non-binary folks everywhere, and we will see you all next time.
Goodbye.
Our worlds are in danger. To save them and the galaxy, we must find the 4 cyber planet keys before the Decepticons can use them for evil. It is our mission. Hotshot, Jetfire, Vector Prime, Landmine, Scattershot, Optimus Prime, Transform and Roll Out!
Transformers, Golden Meets Autobots, Decepticons! Transformers, robots in disguise! Transformers! The Autobots wage their battle to destroy